Ah, the waiting room. Oh, yay, there's Ed. How you doing? Yep, and you're on mute, but that's okay. We see have David's also on mute, and we should have a quorum. Jeff said he would be here. Jude said she would not be here. Connor said he'd call in by phone. Oh, there's Jeff in the waiting room. Yay. And David, you're on mute. And Jeff is connecting to audio. So we'll hope we have Connor, but we have a quorum. So Jeff, you're on mute. Yeah. And David, David, are you going to join us? I know David's on, but he's on mute. Okay. So I'm asking David to unmute through my powers. my powers is the hostess. So anyway, we'll go ahead and get going. We hope we have, I haven't heard from Michael on this. I know Michael's been off dealing with something medical for a while. And so I don't know. Yeah, I didn't hear back from him. So anyway, let me go find our agenda, and we hope and David, you're still on mute, so I hope you're there. But we're going to count you as being there for the purpose of this. I will share my screen. So, yay, there we go. All righty. So our agenda today, I had previously sent out the minutes from the last meeting, which was in November, because we had one meeting scheduled for December, but it didn't work out for the attendees that we needed. So anyway, our agenda for today, and at some point we'll either accept minutes or we won't, I guess is the thing. But I maintain a list of what we didn't accept yet. Status of laws in progress is the main thing to start with. Well, the main topic today is going through the scenic overlay document. But just to officially say, oh, there's David, I see you. And it looks like you're off mute. How you doing, David?
Doing fine, thank you.
Okay, can see you and I can hear you, so yay. Okay, so thank you all for joining. Anyway, so the Housing Oversight Task Force that Jeff and I are on, as is Michael, but he hasn't been to some of those meetings for a while because of his situation. Anyway, the version 2 rewrite we're expecting to be coming soon, so that's the status of that. The water supply protection, as you probably all know, the town board did pass it. So, and Ed, I thought you would be happy to hear that because you worked on that for decades. And so anyway, so yeah, so
I'm very happy.
Yeah, so the law passed, and I followed up with Supervisor McKenna, who said that the clerk had sent the law in because that big issue, what, 20 years ago was the law got passed, but it never got sent in. So Bill said it has been sent in by the town clerk, so it can get added, and we'll have to go find it on the website. I don't know how many months it takes for it to show up, but anyway.
I think the town board ought to issue a commendation for Jerry Washington, because it was Jerry Washington that he suggested to me that we bring in Steve Winkley of the New York Rural Water Association. So I got in touch with Steve Winkley and we brought him to Jerry Washington's house, and we had our first meeting on the Aquifer Protection Overlay District. And so Jerry was Jerry memorized that entire aquifer. He knew what the depth of the sand and gravel is in different
Mhm.
parts of it. I mean, so I think the town board should issue a commendation. I mean, I was in favor of calling the law in favor of Jeremy Wilbur and, I don't know, and Jerry Washington. So,
Yeah. Well, I know I thanked of the list of people that I thanked, Jerry Washington was on the list, and I thanked them several times. And even on the final day when we passed it, I wanted to remember Jerry Washington and also Jay Wank, who have passed. And I'm pretty sure I mentioned your name as well at the same time, Ed, because you were very key on it. But those two people were very passionate about the water, and I did mention them at the several
yeah, Jay Wink.
meetings
Yeah.
and at the last one. So
Well,
anyway,
yeah. Well, I
Yeah.
mean, nobody around here. See, you don't do anything for credit to create good for Woodstock because you don't get any. So you get, it's like when I chaired the zoning committee. I mean, they called me, who's that? Russia. They called me everything but a snake, and they put dead rats in my driveway. So, but I think whoever was involved, it ought to be some sort of plaque or something
mhm,
to common, and Jeremy brought it back in 2005. It was
Right.
Jeremy Wilbur who made it happen.
yeah,
And he put up the committee that you, Laura, and I, and Jerry Washington and Steve
Right.
Winkley was very involved in.
sure,
So Jeremy really caught the fire. And then, of course, Jay, right up to a week before he died, he sent me an email saying, I hope we can pass the aquifer law.
there you go. Yep.
No. So
Yep.
right up to his death, he was in favor, I don't
Yep.
know.
Well, we'll see what I made a note of that. I can't. I'm not making any promises, as we say. However, I made a note of it,
There's
and
no
we'll see.
promise.
But I certainly mentioned that list of people, including yourself, Ed, because you were very key too. But I mentioned that
Well,
list
I
of
didn't
people.
do very much, but
Yeah.
Jerry Washington did a lot, and Jeremy was responsible for setting it up. His regime made the mistake of not filing it with the Secretary of State. So
Right.
Jeremy paid out that karmic debt by
Mhm.
reviving the committee and putting you
Right.
and me, and we took heat too. You remember those meetings? There was one or two meetings that were not friendly.
Right. Well, some of the townspeople thought they would be affected. Were not happy. Right. I remember some people coming in and yeah. So we'll give that some thought about what more should be done for recognition. But I do know I mentioned a list of people several times, and yep. And yeah, Steve Winkley. I did send a letter of thank you to Steve Winkley back when it was finished and it was making its rounds to go to the planning boards, right? The Woodstock Planning Board and the Ulster County Planning Board. Back when it was making its rounds, I did, I figured it was kind of done enough to send a thank you to Steve Winkley. So I did send a thank you to Steve Winkley so that he would have on record. They get state funding, so that they would have on record the great job that was done and the great positive, impact that
Right.
that Steve Winkley had. So because he wrote pretty
That's
much the
good.
whole law.
Yeah,
So-
that's good.
So I mean that I went on record with that too. So anyway, so I'm going on record with that in writing and verbally with all the thank yous and even the paper. Somebody complained about why were people why were people recognized that aren't even here anymore? So clearly it was heard by the newspaper because somebody wrote a letter saying how come we're recommending, why are we recognizing those people anyway? All that being said, so water supply got passed. Regulating wireless telecommunications got passed same day. So both of them got passed in December, and both of them, the town clerk has said that she sent them along. So I'll have to follow up to make sure that they show up. But anyway, so that's all good stuff. So our agenda, so I've already kind of, our agenda today really is talk about scenic overlay. I scheduled 6 months at a time. So we're scheduled second and fourth Monday, 6:30 Zoom through June 26th. The plan is we're just going to keep meeting through Zoom because nobody said we can't. And then part of what we'll talk about if we get through the whole scenic overlay is what do we want to work on next? We had a conversation about this and Jude and Connor were on, and I know that they were very interested in some of these things. So we'll talk about that later. But anyway, do I have actually an approval of the agenda that I just kind of talked through what it is? Some stuff we covered and some stuff we will cover. Any approval of agenda?
Sure.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Yeah, I heard Jeff say, yeah, I heard Ed's sure first. So we'll say Ed and then Jeff second, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Fine with me.
Okay, yay. We have an agenda. So let me just make one more note. Kind of start about 6:35. Okay. So, and what I didn't do and what I should have done is let me go through open zoning. I've got to pull up the latest. Scenic overlay. There we go. Version 5. Okay, yay. So we've gone through a lot of the scenic overlay, and that's really what our goal today is to go through the remainder of the scenic overlay. I will do a file save as I like to do, to make sure I have good tracking of what we did have. So I had sent this out, our last meeting again was the end of November. So I sent this out towards the end of November. We have been through, and we can take it from the top if we want at some point, but we were going through, I guess, the red, and I kind of forget what the blue was, but we had gotten down, start here. So we had gotten down to the last page, actually. So since it's been a month and a half since we've looked at this, do we want to just take it from the top, or do we want to start with what we didn't do yet?
Or what we didn't do.
Okay,
I mean, we're pretty clear on everything up to where we.
I think we were. I think we were.
So
So,
where did we end? I didn't mark it.
okay, I did. So I'm sharing my screen. What we had, it says start
D.
here in bold red, D. Yeah, start here with D.
All right. Okay. The mission, oh yeah, the mission of the Woodstock Tree Committee, right?
Yes. In assisting
All
the
right, well,
planning board.
that could be, well, we have to look at that carefully.
Okay. So, so we'll read it and people can, let me read number 1 first.
Now, on the third line, include consultation on assessing. Shouldn't it be like assisting or?
Right, the wording seems a little funny to me as well, so I'm not quite sure exactly what this is intending to say.
Well, they're
So-
saying consultation to assist or to help or to
Right.
make stronger or
Mhm.
to strengthen at the behest of the planning board its efforts to avoid and mitigate any damage from illegal tree modification.
Mhm. Right, so the first sentence, I agree, needs some,
I have a basic question on this. It's like,
Sure.
why do we need this at all? Because they can always just do this without this being there.
well, I think that the reason why, I think that there was a belief that the tree committee's purview, I think, was only in the hamlet. And I
Right.
think that the goal was to spell it out, that they also have a purview in the scenic overlay. Because they had wanted to get
If the
involved.
planning board wants it, yeah.
Because they, I think they had wanted to get involved, and then somebody said, oh, no, your purview is only the hamlet, so
Yeah,
you gotta
the-
scenic overlay.
The
Well,
thing
that's
about it,
good.
if it isn't actually spelled out, a future board who had a lax attitude about the scenic overlay could just not allow the tree committee to be involved at all. So with this is pretty milquetoast language anyway, it's at the behest of the planning board, and it
Mhm.
it allows them, think of a word like assist or help or
Mhm.
But
or
it seems to me that this belongs in the charter of the tree committee, not the charter of the planning board. Or not a zoning code. This is not to me zoning code. This is a rights and responsibility of the tree committee.
It
Powers,
could be, but I
responsibilities.
know I've been trying to change the tree law for over 10 years, and I've written a bunch of drafts. And every time I submit it, it gets put into the dead zone somewhere, and then no one ever pays any attention to it.
Well,
Jer-
the tree law is different than the tree committee. The tree law as a whole is a zoning law.
Well,
This
the
is-
tree law puts into place the tree committee.
Then that's where, to me, that's where the tree committee responsibilities reside in that, unless, I mean, if the charter is to me, this seems like out of place. If we're saying what the zoning codes are around the scenic overlay, then we should talk about what the scenic overlay zoning codes are, not a committee that has nothing to do with zoning. The tree committee is not an official zoning board member. They're not part of zoning.
But it has to do with the implementation of the planning board's purview over illegal cutting in the scenic overlay district.
I mean, I know what you're saying, Ed, but it's just the tree committee is not at the same level as the planning board in the town laws. The tree
That's
committee is a
true,
committee,
but
the planning board
this
is-
clearly places the tree committee subject to the will of the planning board. The committee can't just barge in. They need to be summoned or requested by the planning board. So, I mean,
I think that's always the case. I
yeah,
don't know, we need to put it in code.
but it's the value in my mind is that it gives greater muscle and strength if it's written out. I mean, no one will probably ever read this law, very rarely, but to have it there, the tree committee, there was an earlier tree committee. They came in and, in the 50s, and they did a lot of good work. They put up plaques on the specimen trees and stuff, but it died out. And finally, a tree law was passed and a new tree committee, and it has now really strong members, Gay Leonard and others who are very much on the ball and have done a lot to protect, to plant trees and stuff. So a tree committee rises, then sinks, just like a town quality of the town board rises and sinks. So if you have the language in the law, it can be picked up down the road and reminding people of the role of the tree committee. I don't know. I mean, I don't see what the deal is. It's not going to be, it's not the end of the world.
Well, so I'm looking here for a minute. I just want to come down here and see what's on here, see what's in the website. So it says there's a duty, there's the mission. I don't know if anybody can read this. I'm just going to make it bigger, so hopefully you can read it. The Town of Woodstock Tree Committee seeks to assist the town board management of its trees resource through programs of education, protection, restoration, disease control, and planning. Tree Committee will liaison with the Planning Board, Civic Design, the Woodstock Environmental Committee, the Cuomo Stewardship Committee, and any other town government groups. The committee seeks to achieve this mission through the following: work with highway and maintenance, identify hazardous disease and high-risk trees, work with highway and maintenance, that looks like that's there twice, tree care program on town properties, enhance the town's tree resource through a program of planning and restoration, the town's tree resources, educate private landowners, encourage elected officials, periodically review town laws regarding tree preservation and submit to the town board recommended amendments. So part of what they are, periodically review town laws regarding tree preservation and submit to the town board recommended amendments for their consideration. So it sounds like they are involved with the town law. Identify historic ornamental and shade trees on town properties, enhance public awareness, seek funding through grants, assist town board in coordinating with utility companies, comprehensive approach to tree management, assist the town in developing a simple, cost-effective method for prioritizing, assessing, mapping tree inventory within key sections of the town's right-of-way and town properties, inventory and prioritize potential removal of fallen trees on town properties, seek solutions for damage to trees. So it looks like, Jeff, back to your point, so we do have a spot in the town website where we do say what the tree committee's mission is. And Jeff, I think your point is update the mission in the town website to be clear, don't make it a law.
Yeah.
Well, then I think if you throw out part one, I think part two ought to be left in place. The Woodstock Tree Committee should be allowed to receive an appropriate budget line when requested by the planning board. And that's-
I don't think we can do that. We can't create budget lines.
In the law.
We cannot create budget lines in the law. I'm sorry, I think that's pretty clear that we don't have the power to create budget lines.
Where does it say that?
Well, budget line, I mean, the budget is done by the town board. Yeah, I don't think any other, as we talk about any other committee, if you look at the zoning law, I don't think you'll find any other place where the zoning law says, give this or that committee is allowed to receive a budget. I don't think we find that any other place.
Exactly. Budgeting is up to the town board, not up to us.
Okay. And what I want to do while we're here is, just for the fun of it, I'm going to go to the Woodstock Town Code. I'm going to search on tree. And see if we find any evidence of, oh, come on, here we go. There we go. Search term tree.
I mean, what does it say in town law?
Well, that's what I'm about to look at. I looked up tree. It looks like there's 4 places that we find tree. There's 197, 217, and 217. 217-3 and 2339. So I'm just going to see 197 streets and sidewalks. I'm just looking to see where they talk about trees. Well, I would have thought if it said it was there that it would have highlighted it for me.
Hey, you just search for trees?
That's what I did. And if anybody has a better idea, I did search for trees. And I would have thought the word, since I searched for the word trees, I would have thought that it would have been highlighted, and I'm not seeing it highlighted. I'll do it again and show you. I entered a search term trees. And I said, there we go. All righty, now we're doing better. Regulated trees, there we go. Chapter 217 trees. Tree ordinance, waivers. And I wasn't smart enough to do tree and tree committee, but talking about trees. I'm looking to see if the tree committee shows up anywhere here.
What does it say about clear cutting?
Oh, well, that's a different question. We're on the question of, do we talk about the tree committee anywhere in here?
Well, if clear cutting would talk about them, wouldn't it?
Well, yeah, it would, but I want to see whether it talks about the tree committee anywhere. Standards within the scenic overlay, minimizing tree cutting, arrangement of trees, cleared of all brush trees, all brushed trees. I'm not seeing tree committee.
Who's the town attorney now? Is it
I thought it
Rod?
was Rod Futterfast.
Yeah, I think this is a job for Rod to see if it's possible to do what we're proposing. And then I think we should have a formal vote of the entire ZRC on this text.
Oh,
And,
okay.
Yeah, it says trees there.
Yeah, it's hard getting the entire board together, but I like it as a plan. So I'm gonna try to search again. I'm gonna search on tree committee. Oh, and that time trees was in there, so. Yeah, tree or trees, tree committee. Oh, now we're in the ethics. I'm looking for the word committee. Anyway, to tell me who's in this chapter owners of, I'm not quite sure what that was. Standard of conduct, that's ethics. Okay, let me keep on going down here. Okay, there's not too much talk of committees in here. Let me just take out the word tree and just put in the word committee and do it one more time here. Oh, there you go. So ethics and amendment procedure. I don't know what this initiation was. 261.13 initiation. Committee for the purpose of amending this chapter within 45 days to further report to planning board. Okay, all right. So the tree committee, we've confirmed that the tree committee is not. We've confirmed that committee isn't really mentioned here at all, except saying how can you amend this chapter? That committee's there for that, and the ethics law uses the term committee. But we did confirm that the term committee is not used anywhere else in the law. At least I think that's what I just confirmed, but everybody's welcome to do their own search. So we would be setting a precedent if we added that. But Ed, I did hear you, and if you would, as you say, you would like to have the whole board. I also hear Jeff's proposal, which is we go back, and the website where I first looked is where the mission of the tree committee is stated. And that might be the right place to put the mission, because we haven't got nowhere in zoning law in my search did I find we have things about committees, except for ethics and except for how you change the zoning law.
And committee purposes are determined by the group that establishes the committee, in this case, the town board.
Correct.
We can't tell the town board how to create a committee. We can't do that. That's not something we can do. That's why there's a town board.
Right.
Well, I think we should refer it to Futterfest and get an opinion.
Absolutely. I mean, if you feel like that's important to do, go for it. But that's my
Because,
understanding. I mean,
well,
no one can tell me as library board president that I need to create a committee. Same thing
Yeah,
with the town board. You
I'm
can't
not
tell me to create a
arguing
committee
with you. I just think it's worth exploring because, I'm thinking of other committees that should be founded in Woodstock as I do my research. I think Rod, he's a good guy. I've worked with him very closely on zoning issues over the years. So, when the RRA was trying to build burn plants and, Rod was suspicious that they insisted on closing our landfill. And the real goal was to set up a network of burn plants for waste. So Rod was on the right side of history on that issue. But so I would suggest showing him the text as is and see what he says. And then let him come up with an opinion. And then if we want to mutate it or edit it or make it smaller, I guess I'm partly speaking as a longtime member of the tree committee and followed how it's blossomed in the last 4 or 5 years and really has a powerful group of people willing to work very hard, especially on the scenic overlay district, where there was a recent severe clear cutting issue.
Right. Can I ask you, I have a quick change of subject, then we'll come back to this subject. So Ed, you're still a member of the tree committee, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so here's my question. I was shocked when I went to see, the town did vote yes for the renovation, that extension, the addition to the Cuomo, which is going to be the new offices. And of course, there were 2 half-dead maple trees came down. There's a third, what looks to me a half-dead maple tree that's going to be leaning over the addition. And I think we ought to get rid of the thing, because the most stupid thing I think that we can be doing as a town is building a building under a half-dead tree. Half the branches are cut off because the thing's dead. And I asked Supervisor McKenna about it, and he said, oh, the tree committee said we need to keep that tree. To me, it's a half-dead tree, and I think it's nuts. I would much rather we just take it out. And if the tree committee wanted to plant a fresh tree there that can grow and be good and be new and not half dead, I think that's a fabulous solution. I didn't know whether you're a part of that decision that says keep that dead
I
tree.
didn't, I would contact Cindy Muro, who's really a good person and really, really on the ball. Cindy Muro
Right.
would be the one that would have the most recent analysis of what to do. I've seen emails
Mhm.
about this tree. I haven't gotten involved myself, but I have I'm get all the emails and they discussed it. So I would say, if you really want to know a
Okay.
quick answer, she's very good. She's very ethical and she's
Right.
a hard worker.
Well, and I believe that, and I know Cindy, and as
Yeah,
you know, I
so-
was liaison for a while, but I'm just appalled that we're putting millions of dollars into a building and we're building it under a half-dead tree.
Well, she's not, nobody's crazy. We don't have any crazies on the tree committee. They're
Right.
all
I have
sane.
wonderful people. Yeah,
Yeah,
you're
no,
there.
and,
Gay Leonard is
and-
there.
yeah,
Cindy
and so-
Muro, Michael Vici, you all are wonderful. Yes.
So Cindy is the easiest way to get a clear analysis of what this thinking
Yeah.
is.
Okay. So
And it's
thank-
basically these 3 people, Cindy and Gay and the Carol March, who are most into the tree cutting, which trees to cut and which trees to save
Right.
issue.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds good. So I will do that. Okay. So back to this. I have to tell you, well, first of all, every time we send something to the town attorney, we're spending money. And secondly, I have to say, I agree with Jeff that I think setting a precedent where now we're included in town law. We have a mission of the tree committee on the town website, and that mission ought to be accurate. It ought to be expanded. I think it should evolve based on what the evolving needs are. I think that the place to put the tree committee's mission, instead of putting it into the law and setting a precedent where now everybody's board ought to be in the law, I really hesitate to do that. I think that the correction belongs on the town website, and it belongs something approved by the town board, because I think that that's the appropriate process for missions of committees. I'm not comfortable. I like that Jeff brought it up, and I like that Jeff explained it. And now I'm with Jeff. I don't have to ask the town attorney to realize that we're about to really turn on its side what the town law is by starting to put in tree committees. And especially, we have a planning board, and there are committees that we have that are very formal, and I think even in state law, right? And then you've got committees that we pop up here and there, and all of a sudden have the formality of it's a law. Yeah, I can understand Jeff's reservation. I actually agree. And I hate to spend town money when I know what my answer is. But Ed, I'm okay. What you had said is let's
I'll
get
make a
everybody.
motion that the issue be brought up before the entire zoning
Entire committee.
revision committee.
Yeah,
And
and I
that
think
their
that-
vote be taken.
I think that's
And then,
fair.
then we'll see what happens.
Okay. So David, do you have an opinion?
Yeah, I will agree with what Ed said.
Well, he said a couple of things. One thing he said he liked having it in there, and the other thing he said, bring it up in front of the entire ZRC. When we bring it up, and I agree with Ed to bring it up in front of the entire ZRC and not just have 4 of us making the decision. But when we bring it up to the entire ZRC, David, what?
Well,
Do
you
you
could look
already-
at there's a book that the state puts out about town law.
Mhm,
We might want to consult that.
okay,
What you can do and what you can't do in town law. Is a
right,
second-class town or is a first-class town?
right. Good, very good point. And I think we're a second class. We're considered second class because we're below
Yeah, we're a
10,000 people.
second-class town, yeah.
Right. Mhm.
That
Okay,
sounds
that's it.
insulting. I think we're pretty first class as far as I could, as far as I can.
We're a first class group. We're definitely first class. In our opinion, we're definitely first class. But yes,
Well,
I
we
also
are
want to be clear, I have no objection to the tree committee getting involved. It's just a matter
Right.
of what I think that we can mandate, and I don't think we can mandate that. That's the
well,
only.
well, and I think a cleaner way to handle it, I actually think is on the town website. But anyway, so
Yeah.
David, good point that it would be good to do a little research about, what the state says a second class town can and can't put in its law. It's a good thing for us to know. So that's all good. So, okay. All righty. So we've been, so I would say the first question for section D is bring it up in front of the entire ZRC, and section D, that's the first thing. Second thing then would be to wordsmith it. If we're going to keep it, wordsmith it. Wordsmith. If going to keep, and even if we're going to put it in the town website, even if put in town website, we still have to wordsmith it if we're going to put on the town website. Okay, all righty. So we're good. So we've seen it. I don't know whether we want to wordsmith it now because it probably should go
No,
somewhere.
doesn't do any good to waste our writing time to wordsmith something that won't happen.
But I think it'll go somewhere is what I'm saying.
Yeah, but it would be in quite a different format. than
Format,
this.
perfect.
This
Okay,
is
wordsmith.
related to the planning board.
Right, once we know. Okay, gotcha. Okay. Okay, so I'm gonna add a note here. Okay, I'll put it in my red text if I get it in. Need, where's my bold red? So, need full ZRC to vote on whether section D belongs in um, well, so other committee, except for the ethics law. I mean, the ethics law spells out, right, the exception of ethics. Other committee responsibilities are not in town law. Committee mission. Okay. Okay. All right. So we need a full ZRC vote. So I think we're all okay with a full ZRC. The tricky part is going to be getting the full ZRC because here's 4 of us and we'll have to get and so David, you're going to wait till a future meeting when we have hopefully more ZRC members. So you don't want to weigh in on whether it belongs in the law or whether it belongs on the town website. You don't want to weigh in until we have a future meeting with more people.
So,
No, okay. Okay. So, alrighty. So, that being said, so we made progress there. The other thing that we would like to do is, so that the agenda, we said, we want to talk about what we want to work on next. Do we want to talk about that now? Or do we want to, talk about that at a future meeting? Because the things that we could be working on next, one thing is, the Housing Oversight Task Force has mentioned, and even though Jeff and I are on the Housing Oversight Task Force, we don't yet have this list, but there was some discussion that the Housing Oversight Task Force may have a list of things I think the ZRC should look into, because there are some things that are housing that they're looking into, but there are other things. When people read the version 1 of the housing law, some people came forth with some feedback that indicated that, they may want some things that aren't really housing. So the ZRC should look at it because it's not really totally housing. So we don't know yet what that list is, but there could be a list of things. We have the old NCLI 1 law that I last sent to the ZRC, you all, back 2 years ago. And at some point we should review it, read it, see if we agree with it, and we'll have to put it in context of the housing law. And one option that we have is really just wait until the housing law comes out and makes its rounds, because whatever's proposed there would go on top of all the changes. So one option we have for the NCLI 1 is just say we're going to postpone doing a deep dive until the housing law. We could say even until the housing law gets adopted. So then whatever we do, this is redlined over the law as it was, but there's a ton of changes in the housing law. And we probably want to glean out of here what the ideas are and see what else you want to do. But it's been on our list since we were formed to look at the NCLI 1 law. A Complete Street sent us something back almost a year ago saying, hey, we'd like you to think about these things. And then in our previous meeting, I don't know whether it was the one on November 28th, but we said that we wanted to talk, that we as a ZRC could pick up the noise law, because people are concerned about that we could pick that up and work on it. The tree law, we could pick that up and work on it. The sign law, looking at definitions, the STR law. So there were a number of things that we were thinking that we could weigh in on. And there is a group working on the STR law right now. But anyway, so I don't know if we want to have any more discussion right now about what we do next, or if we just want to close on the scenic overlay before we worry about what we do next. We could be.
There are a number of issues that I really don't want to bring up, but I will have to bring up if this some of this stuff is brought forward. But I think we should finish with scenic overlay, get Connor in here. He's the one that has talked with the planning board and knows how much the planning board would like the help of the tree committee
Right.
in enforcement of clear cutting and illegal clear cutting and illegal trimming in the scenic overlay district. And so
Right.
that's Connor is the moral force pushing this issue. And I just responded to his talking with other planning board members, and we came up with text. So Connor is key. Connor has to be in on this. So I think we should finish up with this.
Sure.
Scenic overlay will be another really wonderful legacy of this group, including the telecommunications and the water protection, you know, the scenic overlay, which is inestimable value to the Woodstock, both the tourist industry and actual people who live here. They love the scenic overlay district.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so it's hard to, I mean, Connor, there's my phone. So what Connor said, it's hard to get everybody all together. I will say that. Because
well, he has to get involved. He's now off the planning board, so he doesn't have any planning board duties.
Right,
So-
but he said he took a new job, and he said that's why he left planning board. So Connor said, we'll have to call in, please continue the discussion. But he hasn't called in. Or if he
Yeah.
has, I haven't seen a way to add him. I did need to invite each of you. I'm gonna stop sharing here for a sec. Right, I don't see anywhere up here.
Yeah, no, we need to work out with Connor an actual the time that he can get together and
Yes.
work this out. And, you know, I think it's an important legacy work
Yes,
that this committee will have done.
Yep.
And,
Mhm.
so I don't know, I think but Connor's key to it. He's the one forcing through his work on the planning board, the refinement of the scenic overlay. That was the
Mhm.
first thing he brought up to me when we first started to meet a couple of years ago.
yes. Okay, so I'm happy to have the next meeting and now I will say, because I know that Michael's been sick, so I think that we should just plan on 6 of us. If we can get all 6 of us, I know you said have everybody, which.
Well, I mean,
speaking-
whatever the maximum amount we can get to the meeting.
Right, and I think right now that number will be 6. So we'll look to have Connor and Jude and the 4 of us, and the 4 of us then discuss section D and do a one last look at the law, and then we'll see where we are. So
Okay.
all good points. Okay, so I think we might be finished.
Yeah,
Because
okay, I gotta eat, so
Oh, do we have any motion to adjourn?
I make a motion. to adjourn.
I'll
Yay!
second it.
Yay, Ed, David. Thank you all so much for being here. I appreciate it. Happy New Year, everybody. Some
Yeah.
people I
Yes,
haven't talked to
Happy
since
New
the New Year.
Year.
Happy New Year.
And we're off to the races, and we had a great 2022. I'm so pleased with because the zoning revision committee was very important in those 2 huge laws that got passed. So I thank everybody for any part you had, and everybody had an important part. So it was a team effort, and on to 2023.
Okay, see you later.
Bye.
See you later.